Welcome to our new podcast series, our Engage Collective podcast. And today I'm really pleased to be sharing with you a discussion that we're having about the value of customer service, not only in terms of a relationship with the customer, but also the difference that it makes in sales. And we're going to use a real live example, which is from my partner, founding partner of the Engage Collective, Heather Piazza. Heather, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Talk a little bit about your experience at this company overall, just kind of what you were hired to do and what you ended up doing there.
This is the company where I learned first and foremost, firsthand, how important customer service is truly to building a sustainable business that is stable and strong and truly is based on treating the customer experience, treating it well, and giving it all of the love that it deserves. Because after all, that's why we're in business. Or working in a nonprofit is because we're serving a need and we're serving a community. So this particular business, it wasn't that it had bad customer service. We actually took pride on having great customer service. My role in the organization at the time, I was the one person out of our corporate office that spoke to our store managers and our district managers in order to convey information such as how to set up a store, how to handle customer complaints, how to handle a product that might have been, that might have had issues. Unfortunately, our company at the time was having some financial woes. In the matter of a few years, it took a nosedive right around the turn of the economy and ended up shuttering back in 2009. As you can imagine, we had layoffs, much like many other companies did. We refocused and re-strategized in an effort to try to save that company. Customer service made the biggest impact on me. I ended up helping out and managing the call center, which was located out of state at the time. That was like a boot camp in learning customer service and how to treat a customer on the phone, how to handle wait times, how to train staff so they knew how to answer questions, and all while keeping customer experience top of mind.
How many people were in the call center?
I want to say we had at least 100 people in the call center. It was a contracted environment, so wasn't our company that we were working with, which also put a whole new perspective on that. It was not changing, but training another company to align with our mission and vision, and then helping train their people on jumping on board too. And that was really tough when it's not your team specifically that you've hired or even contracted directly with. It was a lesson in patience and delegation and being deliberate and specific and really making sure that they stay on task with what we needed. So there was constant communication within that. I had as the contact in the headquarters office and in our training materials of, how do we want to support our company's mission, vision, goals, philosophy? How do we want to support our customer experience and how they could help us get us there?
So how did you do that? I mean, saying, hey, look, we're going to go in and communicate these core values and that sort of thing. That's not an easy job. And I think a lot of people talk about it and say, oh yeah, this is what we're going to do. And we've got a sign up on the wall and that should pretty much handle that. It can't work. The sign on the wall is good, but it can't handle the level of communication, I imagine, that you needed to have with these people to communicate that. Talk a little bit about how you got to that place.
Right. So it was a lot of living and breathing it, honestly, because you're right, a sign on the wall doesn't do it. It was constant communication. So what I've learned is everybody learns a little differently. And so some like to read. Some, like me, are more visual. I like pictures and images. Some are more relationship oriented, so being there in person. And so as we employed these tactics to try to help us save the company, it was really about putting all of those pieces together. So I had weekly check-ins with their management about how to communicate with an individual and a team, and not just in the style that I wanted, but in the style that they needed in order to learn and in order to implement what it was that, my ultimate goal for my company. So I worked for a VP of sales, and marketing was a separate entity within my company. So we really held hands as two separate departments and worked on this together. And I think that's what it takes, aligning yourselves inside to not only serve the needs of your customers, but to serve the needs of those who are serving you. But it's just being a neutral party, knowing that you're trying to bring two forces together for good. And remembering above all else that, especially in business, it is not personal.
And I think it's really interesting from the standpoint, and kind of the work that I do is, what I say is we want to keep people who are predisposed to being in little me land, who are freaking out about whether they're going to have a job, what's the intent of this department versus my department, and for you to bring them down to an authentic place where everybody can state what their concerns are, what's going on with them, and then you're synthesizing that into something that, for the most part, because you're always going to have issues here and there, but overall, people say, you know what, this is moving us in the direction that we want. And don't you think that's a huge part of helping them along, is keeping them authentic?
Absolutely. And that's part of kind of my refocus strategy. So, I will get together even with a client, and I've done this with teams even in the past. Vent it out for 10 minutes. If you've got anxieties or worries or stress, or someone's bugging you, or, because we do take that as a personal thing, vent it out, let it out. And then when we're done with that 10 minutes, let's move on. Let's get to work. And that strategy of refocusing, letting all of that go and letting it out into the open, I find it is super refreshing for some. They don't get the opportunity to do that. And our work is our home away from home. So when you can't vent that out, you bottle that up.
Well, and you're carrying it around, aren't you? And that's the last thing you want to be doing, is carrying around that kind of thing, and having the wherewithal to recognize that people need to vent, need to let that little self kind of talk it out. It's Southwest's customer service, right?
Absolutely.
You're gonna give them all the time they need to vent, and then say, what do we do to fix this? And here's
Absolutely.
what your options are, or whatever. And so that was a big piece of what you brought to the table as well in this customer service piece, I imagine.
For sure. It's, at the end of the day, we want people to be happy and have a good experience. And we employ all the tactics we can. If we don't have a happy team and we're not all aligned, there is no way we're going to provide excellent customer service.
It's one of the things that really cracks me up about a lot of businesses say, well, the customer is the most important thing. And I understand it from a cash flow perspective. You need those sales, that sort of thing. But if you don't have a team that's happy to be there, just think about how much business, how much goodwill, how much trust just goes by the wayside, because you've got a group of employees that aren't able to feel good about what they're doing.
I completely agree. Completely. So that piece of it is really important to me as well. I believe that, I believe in the customer is always right philosophy. And I believe that customers are the most important reason as to why we are in business. But behind closed doors, in our corporate offices, in our nonprofit offices, it is more than okay to say we need to take care of our team first, so that we can serve our customers the best way that we can. What's most important is that you don't let the customers know what you're going through and the struggles that you're going through. to give them excuses is not okay. They need to see from the very get-go that you are all about them, even if you are taking time behind closed doors to make sure your team is right. That's how it should work. It should be seamless and clear to your customers.
So talk a little bit about how things ended up going for the time that you were in the call center, and some of your big takeaways from that.
Oh gosh. Being in a call center is a little bit like working in a fishbowl, I have to say. I give those people props. That is not an easy job. If one of my learnings was how to be nice. I have my own issues at home dealing with whether it's cable or phone or other services that I'm dealing with. I am so much more patient with that person on the other line because I can just visualize where they're at and what they've been told to do and how they've been trained or not been trained, how they've been supported or not been supported. And I know that when I treat them with respect, I'm going to get that respect right back. And that's, again, a key learning from all of this, whether I'm the customer or I am the person providing the service or the product. Be respectful. There's really no room for anger or frustration or sharing that and unloading it onto another person that doesn't deserve it. So we actually talked about that a lot in the call center about keeping things professional and business-like. And I did work with a team that was that needed more incentivizing. They weren't paid very well, but they were on the whole great people. They just needed to be trained well and needed to be provided with that support. And when they started receiving those things, the results were amazing. We got exactly what it was we wanted because we put the time and effort into it up front and then continued to do so rather than treating them like an ugly stepchild. They were a part of our team too, even though they were a contractor. It didn't matter to us. It was mattered to us that they were part of the team. We were as one serving the customer.
Hold on. Hey, dude, I'm doing a recording, baby. I need you to be quiet.
Blooper.
So one of the things that I think is so important to talk about is this idea of how we take care of an employee. It's not just about pay. And there's all kinds of articles out there that talk about just how important it is to have them have a sense of ownership, to be transparent with them to the best of your ability, to have them be able to feel like they have the ability to make suggestions and have them heard and acted on. There's all kinds of things that I think we can talk about that qualify, and in some ways even more than pay, in terms of taking care of employees. Was that what it sounds like? That's what you found in this call center?
Yes. So that was part of my experience at the call center and back at home and headquarters within our corporate office. It was the same conversation. It was just maybe a little different way of approaching it. The levels of compensation were obviously different. Being out of state was a cheaper place to live. Here at home, it's a lot more expensive. Being out in California near the Bay Area, it's not cheap. And it's kind of that philosophy, you get what you pay for, but I also feel like you get out of it what you put into it. And I think those two things have to be combined together because we are human beings. And we, even if we're trying to keep it business-like and try to keep personal out of it, we still have feelings and emotions. And you need to foster those and tend to those as a leader of a company. It's important, especially if we're still talking customer service. You want amazing customer service, world-class customer service. You need to treat your employees as world-class, amazing associates and a part of the team. And that allows them to come forward with that great idea that they have. Opening the doors for them to share that, opening the door for them to even employ that idea and try it out, see if it works. Being able to share those wins and those losses so that we can move forward in a productive way. Why don't we take this approach instead, try something different with these expected outcomes, to not only be able to share an idea, but to challenge your people to employ that, put it into action, and to think further. Challenge them to think about what those outcomes could actually be. What are you aiming for? And to feed that, I think, is so incredibly important. Taking breaks. If something happens to their family, that you're allowing them to put their family first, that they have support to have a good, healthy quality of life. It can be different for every company and every industry, but there are certainly ways to attack that so that people feel supported on the inside. They feel like you're a number one place to work. They tell their friends, they tell their family, they tell their customers. And guess what? When your people are happy, your customers are happy.
And when people are happy, you also have a situation where the relationships are better, the trust is higher, the sales are better. And really, in terms of the leadership aspect of this, it's really up to the leaders of the company, including my direct manager, to create, to the best of their ability, those conditions where somebody feels, even if they've got a management system, even if they've got a management situation above that doesn't feel supported, if I have a manager right above me that's like, dude, I've got your back as best I can, that makes all the difference in the world. But I really think that one of the things that we want to focus on with Engage is this idea that leadership is about helping your people to thrive, helping your people to accomplish more because they've been given a longer leash, so to speak, and that what happens through experimentation is those things that get stale go by the wayside.
Absolutely. And it's not always easy. Building something that works can take time. It can be hard, but it's worth it. And we're worth it. And our customers are worth it. And again, I'm going to go back to, it's why we're here. It's why we're working in the first place.
Yep. Wow. Lots to cover, lot covered. What do you want to wrap this up with? What's the message you want to wrap up with in regards to this?
Gosh, I just want to say, treat people with kindness. That's what it comes back to. If you want to grow your sales and experience amazing customer service and have an amazing team that's working alongside of you, getting things done, kindness does it. Having a plan does it. Encouraging others, lifting people up does it. Being respectful does it. And the better that you communicate, the stronger that your team will be, and being on board with you and what you're trying to accomplish.
That's the perfect ending to one of our first podcasts. Heather, thank you so much for doing this. We're going to do more of these with the whole team and multiples. So Heather and I will be back with a client that we've worked with recently, from branding to our website and brochures and all kinds of other things coming down the road. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.